But Sítá viewed with wild affright the heroes, hurried from her sight. She tossed her shapely arms on high, and shrieked aloud her bitter cry. Ah, the dread giant bears away the princely Rama as his prey, truthful and pure, and good and great. And Lakshman, a letter 1E47, shares his brother's fate. The brindled tiger and the bear my mangled limbs for food will tear. Take me, O best of giants, me, and leave the sons of Raghu free. Then, by avenging fury spurred, her mournful cry the heroes heard, and hastened, for the lady's sake, the wicked monster's life to take. Then Lakshman, a letter 1E47, with resistless stroke the foe's left arm that held him broke, and Rama too, as swift to smite, smashed with his heavy hand the right. With broken arms and tortured frame to earth the fainting giant came, like a huge cloud or mighty rock rent, sundered by the levin's shock. Then rushed they on, and crushed and beat their foe with arms and fists and feet, and nerved each mighty limb to pound and bray him on the level ground. Keen arrows and each biting blade wide rents in breast and side had made, but crushed and torn and mangled, still the monster lived they could not kill. When Rama saw no arms might slay the fiend who like a mountain lay, the glorious hero, swift to save in danger, thus his counsel gave. O Prince of Men, his charmed life no arms may take in battle strife. Now dig we in this grove a pit his elephantine bulk to fit, and let the hollowed earth enfold the monster of gigantic mold. This said, the son of Raghu pressed his foot upon the giant's breast. With joy the prostrate monster heard victorious Rama's welcome word, and straight Kaikeyí's son, the best of men, in words like these addressed. I yield, O chieftain, overthrown by might that vies with Indra's own. Till now my folly-blinded eyes thee, hero, failed to recognize. Happy Kausalya, blessed to be the mother of a son like thee. I know thee well, O chieftain, now, Rama, the prince of men, art thou. There stands the high-born Maithil dame, there Lakshman, a letter 1E47, lord of mighty fame. My name was Tumburu, 408, for song renowned among the minstrel throng, cursed by Kuvera's stern decree I wear the hideous shape you see. But when I sued his grace to crave, the glorious god this answer gave. When Rama, Dasaratha's son, destroys thee and the fight is won, thy proper shape once more assume, and heaven again shall give thee room. When thus the angry god replied, no prayers could turn his wrath aside, and thus on me his fury fell for loving Rampaz, 409 charms too well. Now through thy favor am I freed from the stern fate the god decreed, and saved, O tamer of the foe, by thee, to heaven again shall go. A league, O prince, beyond this spot stands holy Sarabhanga's cot. The very sun is not more bright than that most glorious anchorite to him. O Rama, quickly turn, and blessings from the hermit earn. First under earth my body throw, then on thy way rejoicing go. Such is the law ordained of old for giants when their days are told. Their bodies laid in earth, they rise to homes eternal in the skies. Thus by the rankling dart oppressed, Kaikeyí's offspring he addressed, in earth his mighty body lay, his spirit fled to heaven away. Thus spake Virádha ere he died, and Rama to his brother cried, now dig we in this grove a pit his elephantine bulk to fit. And let the hollowed earth enfold this mighty giant fierce and bold. This said, the valiant hero put upon the giant's neck his foot. His spade obedient Lakshman, a letter 1E47 plied, and dug a pit both deep and wide by lofty-souled Virádha's side. Then Raghu's son his foot withdrew, and down the mighty form they threw, one awful shout of joy he gave and sank into the open grave. The heroes, to their purpose true, in fight the cruel demon slew, and radiant with delight deep in the hollowed earth, they cast the monster roaring to the last, in their resistless might. Thus when they saw the warrior's steel no life-destroying blow might deal, the pair, for lore renowned, deep in the pit their hands had made the unresisting giant laid, and killed him 'neath the ground. Upon himself, the monster brought from Rama's hand the death he sought with strong desire to gain, and thus the rover of the night told Rama, as they strove in fight, that swords might rend and arrows smite upon his breast in vain. Thus Rama, when his speech he heard, the giant's mighty form interred, which mortal arms defied. With thundering crash the giant fell, and rock and cave and forest dell with echoing roar replied. The princes, when their task was done and freedom from the peril won, rejoiced to see him die. Then in the boundless wood they strayed, like the great sun and moon displayed triumphant in the sky. 410. Canto 5. Sarabhanga. Then Rama, having slain in fight Virádha of terrific might, with gentle words his spouse consoled, and clasped her in his loving hold. Then to his brother nobly brave the valiant prince his counsel gave. Wild are these woods around us spread, and hard and rough the ground to tread. We, O my brother, ne'er have viewed so dark and drear a solitude. To Sarabhanga let us haste, whom wealth of holy works has graced. Thus Rama spoke, and took the road to Sarabhanga's pure abode. But near that saint whose luster vied with God's, by penance purified, with startled eyes the prince beheld a wondrous sight unparalleled. In splendor like the fire and sun, he saw a great and glorious one. Upon a noble car he rode, and many a god behind him glowed, and earth beneath his feet unpressed. 411, the monarch of the skies confessed. Ablaze with gems, no dust might dim the bright attire that covered him. Arrayed like him, on every side high saints their master glorified. Near, borne in air, appeared in view his car which tawny coursers drew, like silver cloud, the moon, or sun ere yet the day is well begun. Wreathed with gay garlands, o'er his head a pure white canopy was spread, and lovely nymphs stood nigh to hold fair treacherous with their sticks of gold, which, waving in each gentle hand, the forehead of their monarch fanned. God, saint, and bard, a radiant ring, sang glory to their heavenly king. Forth into joyful lauds they burst as Indra with the sage conversed. Then Rama, when his wondering eyes beheld the monarch of the skies, to Lakshman a letter 1E47 quickly called, and showed the car wherein Lord Indra rode. See, brother, see that airborne car, whose wondrous glory shines afar, wherefrom so bright a luster streams that like a falling sun it seems. These are the steeds whose fame we know, of heavenly race through heaven they go. These are the steeds who bear the yoke of Sakra. 412, him whom all invoke. Behold these youths, a glorious band, toward every wind 100 stand. A sword in each right hand is borne, and rings of gold their arms adorn. What might in every broad deep chest, and club-like arm is manifest. Clothed in attire of crimson, hue they show like tigers fierce to view. Great chains of gold each warder deck, gleaming like fire beneath his neck. The age of each fair youth appears some score and 5 of human years, the ever-blooming prime which they who live in heaven retain for aye. Such mean these lordly beings where, heroic youths, most bright and fair. Now, brother, in this spot, I pray, with the Vidhan lady stay, till I have certain knowledge who this being is, so bright to view. He spoke, and turning from the spot, sought Sarabhanga's hermit cot. But when the lord of Satchi, 413, saw the son of Raghu near him draw, he hastened of the sage to take his leave, and to his followers spake. See, Rama bends his steps this way, but ere he yet a word can say, come, fly to our celestial sphere. It is not meet he see me here. Soon victor and triumphant, he in fitter time shall look on me. Before him still a great emprise, a task too hard for others lies. Then with all marks of honor, high the thunderer bade the saint goodbye, and in his car, which coursers drew away, to heaven the conqueror flew. Then Rama, Lakshman a letter 1E47, and the dame to Sarabhanga nearer came, who sat beside the holy flame. Before the ancient sage they bent, and clasped his feet most reverent, then at his invitation found a seat beside him on the ground. Then Rama prayed the sage would deign Lord Indra's visit to explain, and thus at length the holy man in answer to his prayer began. This Lord of boons has sought me here to waft me hence to Brahma's sphere, won by my penance long and stern, a home the lawless ne'er can earn. But when I knew that thou wast nigh to Brahma's world, I could not fly, until these longing eyes were blessed with seeing thee, mine honored guest. Since thou, O Prince, hast cheered my sight, great-hearted lover of the right, to heavenly spheres will I repair and bliss supreme that waits me there. For I have won, dear Prince, my way to those fair worlds which ne'er decay, celestial seat of Brahma's reign be thine, with me, those worlds to gain. Then master of all sacred lore, spake Rama to the saint once more. Even I, illustrious sage, will make those worlds mine heritage. But now, I pray, some home assign within this holy grove of thine. Thus Rama, Indra's peer in might, addressed the aged anchorite, and he, with wisdom well endued, to Raghu's son his speech renewed. Sutíkshna KSH letter 1E47, a S woodland home is near, a glorious saint of life austere true to the path of duty. He with highest bliss will prosper thee. Against the stream thy course must be of this fair brook Mandakini, whereon light rafts like blossoms glide, then to his cottage turn aside. There lies thy path, but ere thou go, look on me, dear one, till I throw aside this mold that girds me in, as casts the snake his withered skin. He spoke, the fire in order laid with holy oil due offerings made, and Sarabhanga, glorious sire, laid down his body in the fire. Then rose the flame above his head, on skin, blood, flesh, and bones it fed, till forth, transformed with radiant hue of tender youth, he rose anew, far shining in his bright attire came Sarabhanga from the pyre, above the home of saints and those who feed the quenchless flame. 414, he rose. Beyond the seat of gods he passed, and Brahma's sphere was gained at last. The noblest of the twice-born race, for holy works supreme in place, the mighty Father there beheld girt round by hosts unparalleled, and Brahma joying at the sight welcomed the glorious anchorite. Canto 6. Rama's promise. When he his heavenly home had found, the holy men who dwelt around to Rama flocked, whose martial fame shone glorious as the kindled flame. Vaikhanasas, 415, who love the wild, pure hermits Balakilyas. 416, styled good Samprakshalas. 417, saints who live on rays which moon and daystar give, those who with leaves their lives sustain, and those who pound with stones their grain, and they who lie in pools, and those whose corn, save teeth, no winnow knows. Those who for beds the cold earth use, and those who every couch refuse, and those condemned to ceaseless pains, whose single foot their weight sustains, and those who sleep 'neath open skies, whose food the wave or air supplies, and hermits pure who spend their nights on ground prepared for sacred rites, those who on hills their vigil hold or dripping clothes around them fold, the devotees who live for prayer, or the 5 fires, 418, unflinching bear. On contemplation all intent, with light that heavenly knowledge lent, they came to Rama, saint and sage in Sarabhanga's hermitage. The hermit crowd around him pressed, and thus the virtuous chief addressed, "The lordship of the earth is thine, O prince of old Ikshvaku's line. Lord of the gods is Indra, so thou art our lord and guide below. Thy name, the glory of thy might, throughout the triple world are bright. Thy filial love so nobly shown, thy truth and virtue well are known. To thee, O Lord, for help we fly, and on thy love of right rely. With kindly patience hear us speak, and grant the boon we humbly seek. That Lord of earth were most unjust, foul traitor to his solemn trust, who should a sixth of all 419 require, nor guard his people like a sire. But he who ever watchful strives to guard his subjects, wealth and lives, dear as himself or dearer still, his sons with earnest heart and will, that king, O Raghu's son, secures high fame that endless years endures, and he to Brahma's world shall rise, made glorious in the eternal skies. Whate'er by duty won, the meat of saints whom roots and berries feed, 1/4 thereof, for tender care of subjects, is the monarch's share. These, mostly of the Brahmin race, who make the wood their dwelling place, although a friend in thee they view, fall friendless 'neath the giant crew. Come, Rama, come, and see hard by the holy hermits corpses lie, where many a tangled pathway shows the murderous work of cruel foes. These wicked fiends the hermits kill, who live on Chitr a Ku acute letter 1E60 a S hill, and blood of slaughtered saints has dyed Mandakini and Pampa's side. No longer can we bear to see the death of saint and devotee, whom through the forest day by day these Rakshasas unpitying slay. To thee, O Prince, we flee, and crave thy guardian help our lives to save. From these fierce rovers of the night, defend each stricken anchorite. Throughout the world, 'twere vain to seek an arm like thine to aid the weak. O Prince, we pray thee hear our call, and from these fiends preserve us all. The son of Raghu heard the plaint of penance-loving sage and saint, and the good prince his speech renewed to all the hermit multitude. To me, O saints, ye need not sue, I wait the hests of all of you. I by mine own occasion, led this mighty forest needs must tread, and while I keep my sire's decree your lives from threatening foes will free. I hither came of free accord to lend the aid by you implored, and richest meed my toil shall pay, while here in forest shades I stay. I long in battle strife to close, and slay these fiends, the hermit's foes, that saint and sage may learn aright my prowess and my brother's might. Thus to the saints his promise gave that prince who still to virtue clave with never-wandering thought, and then with L a K S H M a letter 1E47 by his side, with penance wealthy men to guide. Suti acute KSH letter 1E47 a S home he sought. Canto 7. Sutíkshna. So Raghu's son, his foeman's dread with Sítá and his brother sped, girt round by many a twice-born sage, to good Suti acute KSH letter 1E47 a S Hermitage. 420 through woods for many a league he passed, o'er rushing rivers full and fast, until a mountain fair and bright as lofty Meru rose in sight. Within its belt of varied wood, Ikshvaku's sons and Sítá stood, where trees of every foliage bore blossom and fruit in endless store. Their coats of bark, like garlands strung before a lonely cottage hung, and there a hermit, dust besmeared, a lotus on his breast, appeared. Then Rama with obeisance do address the sage, as near he drew. My name is Rama, Lord. I seek thy presence, saint, with thee to speak. O sage, whose merits ne'er decay, some word unto thy servant say. The sage his eyes on Rama bent, of virtue's friends preeminent, then words like these he spoke, and pressed the son of Raghu to his breast. Welcome to thee, illustrious youth, best champion of the rights of truth. By thine approach this holy ground worthy Lord this day has found. I could not quit this mortal frame till thou shouldst come, O dear to fame, to heavenly spheres I would not rise, expecting thee with eager eyes. I knew that thou, unkinged, hadst made thy home in Chitr a Ku acute letter 1E60 a S shade. E'en now, O Rama, Indra, Lord supreme by all the gods adored, king of the 100 offerings. 421 said, when he my dwelling visited, that the good works that I have done my choice of all the worlds have won. Accept this meed of holy vows, and with thy brother and thy spouse roam, through my favor, in the sky which saints celestial glorify. To that bright sage, of penance stern, the high-souled Rama spake in turn as Vasava 422, who rules the skies to Brahma's gracious speech replies. I of myself those worlds will win, O mighty hermit pure from sin. But now, O saint, I pray thee tell where I within this wood may dwell. For I by Sarabhanga old, the son of Gautama, was told that thou in every lore art wise, and seest all with loving eyes. Thus to the saint, whose glories high filled all the world, he made reply, and thus again the holy man his pleasant speech with joy began. This calm retreat, O prince, is blessed with many a charm. Here take thy rest. Here roots and kindly fruits abound, and hermits love the holy ground. Fair sylvan beasts and gentle deer in herds unnumbered wander here, and as they roam, secure from harm, our eyes with grace and beauty charm. Except the beasts in thickets bred, this grove of ours has naught to dread. The hermit's speech when Rama heard, the hero ne'er by terror stirred. On his great bow his hand he laid, and thus in turn his answer made. O saint, my darts of keenest steel, armed with their murderous barbs, would deal destruction mid the sylvan race that flocks around thy dwelling place. Most wretched, then my fate would be for such dishonor shown to thee, and only for the briefest stay would I within this grove delay. He spoke and ceased. With pious care he turned him to his evening prayer, performed each customary rite, and sought his lodging for the night, with Sítá and his brother laid beneath the grove's delightful shade. First good Suti acute KSH letter 1E47 as elsewhere, when he saw the shades of night around them draw, with hospitable care the princely chieftains entertained with store of choicest food, ordained for holy hermits' fare. Canto 8. The Hermitage. So Rama and Sumitra's son, when every honor due was done, slept through the night. When morning broke, the heroes from their rest awoke. Betimes the son of Raghu rose, with gentle Sítá, from repose, and sipped the cool delicious wave sweet with the scent the lotus gave. Then to the gods and sacred, flame the heroes and the lady came, and bent their heads in honor meet within the hermit's pure retreat. When every stain was purged away, they saw the rising Lord of Day. Then to Suti acute KSH letter 1E47 a S side they went, and softly spoke, most reverent. Well have we slept, O holy Lord, honored of thee by all adored. Now leave to journey forth, we pray. These hermits urge us on our way. We haste to visit, wandering by, the ascetics' homes that round you lie, and roaming D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS mighty wood to view each saintly brotherhood. For thy permission now we sue, with these high saints to duty true, by penance taught each sense to tame, in luster like the smokeless flame. Ere on our brows the sun can beat with fierce intolerable heat. Like some unworthy lord who wins his power by tyranny and sins, O saint, we fain would part. The three bent humbly to the devotee. He raised the princes as they pressed his feet and strained them to his breast, and then the chief of devotees bespake them both in words like these. Go with thy brother, Rama, go, pursue thy path untouched by woe, go with thy faithful Sítá, she still like a shadow follows thee. Rome D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K, would observing well the pleasant homes where hermits dwell. Pure saints whose ordered souls adhere to penance rites and vows austere. Their plenteous roots and berries grow, and noble trees their blossoms show, and gentle deer and birds of air in peaceful troops are gathered there. There see the full-blown lotus stud the bosom of the lucid flood, and watch the joyous mallard shake the reeds that fringe the pool and lake. See with delighted eye the rill leap sparkling from her parent hill, and hear the woods that round thee lie re-echo to the peacock's cry. And as I bid thy brother, so, Sumitra's child, I bid thee go. Go forth, these varied beauties see, and then once more return to me. Thus spake the sage Sutiiq KSH letter 1E47a. Both the chiefs assented, nothing loth, round him with circling steps they paced, then for the road prepared with haste. Their Sítá stood, the dame long-eyed, fair quivers round their waists she tied, and gave each prince his trusty bow, and sword which ne'er a spot might know. Each took his quiver from her hand, and clanging bow and gleaming brand, then from the hermits, home the two went forth each woodland scene to view. Each beauteous in the bloom of age, dismissed by that illustrious sage, with bow and sword accoutred, hied away, and Sítá by their side. Canto 9. Sítá's speech. Blessed by the sage, when Raghu's son his onward journey had begun, thus in her soft tone Sítá, meek with modest fear, began to speak. One little slip the great may lead to shame that follows lawless deed. Such shame, my lord, as still must cling to faults from low desire that spring. 3 several sins defile the soul, born of desire that spurns control. First, utterance of a lying word, then, viler both the next and third, the lawless love of others' wife, the thirst of blood uncaused by strife. The first, O Raghu's son, in thee none yet has found, none e'er shall see. Love of another's dame destroys all merit, lost for guilty joys. Rama, such crime in thee, I ween, has ne'er been found, shall ne'er be seen. The very thought, my princely lord, is in thy secret soul abhorred. For thou hast ever been the same fond lover of thine own dear dame, content with faithful heart to do thy father's will, most just and true. Justice and faith, and many a grace in thee have found a resting place. Such virtues, prince, the good may gain who empire o'er each sense retain, and well canst thou, with loving view regarding all, each sense subdue. But for the third, the lust that strives insatiate still for others' lives, fond thirst of blood where hate is none. This, O my lord, thou wilt not shun. Thou hast but now a promise made, the saints of D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K would to aid, and to protect their lives from ill the giant's blood in tight wilt spill. And from thy promise lasting fame will glorify the forest's name. Armed with thy bow and arrows thou forth with thy brother journeyst now, while, as I think how true thou art fears for thy bliss assail my heart, and all my spirit at the sight is troubled with a strange affright. I like it not, it seems not good, thy going thus to D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D a K would, and I, if thou wilt mark me well, the reason of my fear will tell. Thou with thy brother, bow in hand, beneath those ancient trees wilt stand, and thy keen arrows will not spare wood rovers who will meet thee there. For as the fuel food supplies that bids the dormant flame arise, thus when the warrior grasps his bow, he feels his breast with ardor glow. Deep in a holy grove of yore, where bird and beast from strife forbore, such beneath the sheltering boughs, A truthful hermit kept his vows. Then Indra, Sachi's heavenly lord, armed like a warrior with a sword, came to his tranquil home to spoil the hermit of his holy toil, and left the glorious weapon there entrusted to the hermit's care, a pledge for him to keep, whose mind to fervent zeal was all resigned. He took the brand. With utmost heed he kept it for the warrior's need. To keep his trust he fondly strove when roaming in the neighboring grove, whene'er for roots and fruit he strayed, still by his side he bore the blade. Still on his sacred charge intent, he took his treasure when he went. As day by day that brand he wore, the hermit, rich in merit store from penance rites each thought withdrew, and fierce and wild his spirit grew. With heedless soul he spurned the right, and found in cruel deeds delight. So living with the sword he fell, a ruined hermit down to hell. This tale applies to those who deal too closely with the warrior's steel. The steel to warriors is the same as fuel to the smoldering flame. Sincere affection prompts my speech, I honor where I fain would teach. Mayst thou, thus armed with shaft and bow, so dire a longing never know as, when no hatred prompts the fray, these giants of the wood to slay. For he who kills without offense shall win but little glory thence. The bow the warrior joys to bend is lent him for a nobler end, that he may save and succor those who watch in woods when pressed by foes. What match with woods is bow or steel? What warrior's arm with hermit's seal? We with such might have naught to do, the forest rule should guide us too. But when Ayodhyá hails thee Lord, be then thy warrior life restored, so shall thy sire, 423, and mother joy in bliss that naught may e'er destroy. And if, resigning empire, thou submit thee to the hermit's vow, the noblest gain from virtue springs, and virtue joy unending brings. All earthly blessings virtue sends, on virtue all the world depends. Those who with vow and fasting tame to do restraint the mind and frame, win by their labor, nobly wise, the highest virtue for their prize. Pure in the hermit's grove remain true to thy duty, free from stain. But the three worlds are open thrown to thee, by whom all things are known. Who gave me power that I should dare his duty to my Lord declare? Tease woman's fancy, light as air that moves my foolish breast. Now with thy brother counsel take, reflect, thy choice with judgment make, and do what seems the best. Canto 10. Rama's reply. The words that Sítá uttered, spurred by truest love, the hero heard. Then he who ne'er from virtue strayed to Janak's child his answer made. In thy wise speech, sweet love, I find true impress of thy gentle mind, well skilled the warrior's path to trace, thou pride of Janak's ancient race. What fitting answer shall I frame to thy good words, my honored dame? Thou say'st the warrior bears the bow that misery's tears may cease to flow. And those pure saints who love the shade of D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K would are sore dismayed. They sought me of their own accord, with suppliant prayers my aid implored. They, fed on roots and fruit, who spend their lives where bosky wilds extend, my timid love, enjoy no rest by these malignant fiends distressed. These make the flesh of man their meat, the helpless saints they kill and eat. The hermit sought my side, the chief of Brahmin race declared their grief. I heard, and from my lips there fell the words which thou rememberest well. I listened as the hermits cried, and to their prayers I thus replied. Your favor, gracious lords, I claim, o'erwhelmed with this enormous shame that Brahmins, great and pure as you, who should be sought to me should sue. And then before the saintly crowd, what can I do? I cried aloud. Then from the trembling hermits broke one long sad cry, and thus they spoke. Fiends of the wood, who wear at will each varied shape, afflict us still. To thee in our distress we fly, O help us, Rama, or we die. When sacred rites of fire are due, when changing moons are full or new, these fiends who bleeding flesh devour assail us with resistless power. They with their cruel might torment the hermits on their vows intent. We look around for help and see our surest refuge, Prince, in thee. We, armed with powers of penance, might destroy the rovers of the night, but loth were we to bring to naught the merit years of toil have bought. Our penance rites are grown too hard, by many a check and trouble barred, but though our saints for food are slain, the withering curse we yet restrain. Thus many a weary day distressed by giants who this would infest, we see at length deliverance. Thou with L a K S H M, a letter 1E47 art our guardian now. As thus the troubled hermits prayed, I promised, Dame, my ready aid, and now, for truth I hold most dear, still to my word must I adhere. My love, I might endure to be deprived of Lakshman, a letter 1E47, life and thee, but ne'er deny my promise, ne'er to Brahmins break the oath I swear. I must, enforced by high constraint, protect them all. Each suffering saint in me, unasked, his help had found, still more in one by promise bound. I know thy words, mine own dear dame, from thy sweet heart's affection came. I thank thee for thy gentle speech, for those we love are those we teach. 'Tis like thyself, O fair of face, 'tis worthy of thy noble race, dearer than life, thy feet are set in righteous paths they ne'er forget. Thus to the Mathil monarch's child, his own dear wife, in accents mild the high-souled hero said, then to the holy groves which lay beyond them fair to see, their way the bow-armed chieftain led. Canto 11. Agastya. Rama went foremost of the three, next Sítá, followed, fair to see, and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 with his bow in hand, walked hindmost of the little band. As onward through the wood they went, with great delight their eyes were bent on rocky heights beside the way and lofty trees with blossoms gay, and streamlets running fair and fast the royal youths with Sítá passed. They watched the saras and the drake on islets of the stream and lake, and gazed delighted on the floods bright with gay birds and lotus buds. They saw in startled herds the roes, the passion-frenzied buffaloes, wild elephants who fiercely tore the tender trees, and many a boar. A length of woodland way they passed, and when the sun was low at last a lovely stream-fed lake they spied, 2 leagues across from side to side. Tall elephants' fresh beauty gave to grassy bank and lilied wave, by many a swan and saras stirred, mallard and gay-winged waterbird. From those sweet waters, loud and long, though none was seen to wake the song, swelled high the singer's music blent with each melodious instrument. Rama and Carborn Lakshman, a letter 1E47 heard the charming strain, with wonder stirred, turned on the margin of the lake to Dharmaprit. 424, the sage, and spake. Our longing souls, O hermit, burn this music of the lake to learn. We pray thee, noblest sage, explain the cause of the mysterious strain. He, as the son of Raghu prayed, with swift accord his answer made, and thus the hermit, virtuous souled, the story of the fair lake told. Through every age, 'tis known to fame. Panchapsaras, 425. Its glorious name, by holy a letter 1E47 letter 1E0d, a K a R letter 1E47, I wrought with power his rights austere had bought. For he, great votarist, intent on strictest rule his stern life spent. 10,000 years the stream his bed, 10,000 years on air he fed. Then on the blessed gods who dwell in heavenly homes great terror fell, they gathered all, by Agni led, and counseled thus disquieted. The hermit by ascetic pain the seat of one of us would gain. Thus with their hearts by fear oppressed in full assembly spoke the blessed, and bade 5 loveliest nymphs, as fair as lightning in the evening air, armed with their winning wiles, seduce from his stern vows the great recluse. Though lore of earth and heaven he knew, the hermit from his task they drew, and made the great ascetic slave to conquering love, the gods to save. Each of the heavenly 5 became bound to the sage, his wedded dame, and he, for his beloved's sake, formed a fair palace neath the lake. Under the flood the ladies live, to joy and ease their days they give, and lap in bliss the hermit wooed from penance rites to youth renewed. So when the sportive nymphs within those secret bowers their play begin, you hear the singer's dulcet tones blend sweetly with their tinkling zones. How wondrous are these words of thine, cried the famed chiefs of Raghu's line, as thus they heard the sage unfold the marvels of the tale he told. As Rama spake, his eyes were bent upon a hermit settlement with light of heavenly lore endued, with sacred grass and vesture strewed. His wife and brother by his side, within the holy bounds he hide, and there, with honor entertained by all the saints, a while remained. In time, by due succession led, each votary's cot he visited, and then the lord of martial lore returned where he had lodged before. Here for the month's content he stayed, there for a year his visit paid. Here for 4 months his home would fix, there, as it chanced, for 5 or 6. Here for 8 months, and there for 3 the son of Raghu's stay would be, here weeks, there fortnights, more or less. he spent in tranquil happiness. As there the hero dwelt at ease among those holy devotees. In days, untroubled o'er his head, 10 circling years of pleasure fled. So Raghu's son in duty trained while in every cot remained. Then with his dame retraced the road to good Suti acute, KSH letter 1E47, a S calm abode. Hailed by the saints with honors due near, to the hermit's home he drew. And there the tamer of his foes dwelt for a time in sweet repose. One day within that holy wood by Saint Suti acute, KSH letter 1E47, a Rama stood. And thus the prince with reverence meek to that high sage began to speak. In the wide woodlands that extend around us, Lord most reverend, as frequent voice of rumor tells, Agastya, saintliest hermit, dwells. So vast the wood, I cannot trace the path to reach his dwelling place, nor, searching unassisted, find that hermit of the thoughtful mind. I with my wife and brother fain would go, his favor to obtain, would seek him in his lone retreat, and the great saint with reverence greet. This one desire, O Master, long cherished within my heart, is strong, that I may pay of free accord my duty to that hermit lord. As thus the prince whose heart was bent on virtue told his firm intent, the good Suti acute KSH letter 1E47 a S joy rose high, and thus in turn he made reply. The very thing, O prince, which thou hast sought, I wish to urge but now, bid thee with wife and brother see Agastya, glorious devotee. I count this thing an omen fair that thou shouldst thus thy wish declare. And I, my prince, will gladly teach the way Agastya's home to reach. Southward, dear son, direct thy feet 8 leagues beyond this still retreat. Agastya's hermit brother there dwells in a home most bright and fair. 'Tis on a knoll of woody ground, with many a branching pipple, 426 crowned, there sweet birds' voices ne'er a mute, and trees are gay with flower and fruit. There many a lake gleams bright and cool, and lilies deck each pleasant pool, while swan and crane and mallard's wings are lovely in the water springs. There for one night, O Rama, stay, and with the dawn pursue thy way. Still farther, bending southward, by the thicket's edge the course must lie, and thou wilt see, 2 leagues from thence Agastya's lovely residence. Set in the woodland's fairest spot, all varied foliage decks the cot. There Sítá, LAKSHM a letter 1E47 thou, at ease may spend sweet hours 'neath shady trees, for all of noblest growth are found luxuriant on that bosky ground. If it be still thy firm intent to see that saint preeminent, O mighty counselor, this day depart upon thine onward way. The hermit spake, and Rama bent his head, with LAKSHM a letter 1E47, reverent, and then with him and Janak's child set out to trace the forest wild. He saw dark woods that fringed the road, and distant hills like clouds that showed, and, as the way he followed, met with many a lake and rivulet. So passing on with ease, where led the path Suti acute, KSH letter 1E47 obeyed him tread. The hero with exulting breast his brother in these words addressed. Here surely is the home in sight of that illustrious anchorite. Here great Agastya's brother leads a life intent on holy deeds. Warned of each guiding mark and sign, I see them all herein combine. I see the branches bending low beneath the flowers and fruit they show. A soft air from the forest springs, fresh from the odorous grass, and brings a spicy fragrance as it flees o'er the ripe fruit of pipple trees. See, here and there around us high piled up in heaps cleft billets lie, and holy grass is gathered, bright as strips of shining lazulite. Full in the center of the shade, the hermit's holy fire is laid. I see it smoke the pure heaven streak dense as a big cloud's dusky peak. The twice-born men, their steps retrace from each sequestered bathing place, and each his sacred gift has brought of blossoms which his hands have sought. Of all these signs, dear brother, each agrees with good Suti acute, KSH letter 1E47 a S speech, and doubtless in this holy bound Agastya's brother will be found. Agastya once, the worlds who viewed with love, a death-like fiend subdued, and armed with mighty power, obtained by holy works, this grove ordained to be a refuge and defense from all oppressors' violence. In days of yore within this place, 2 brothers fierce of demon race, Vadapi dire and Ilval, dwelt, and slaughter mid the Brahmins dealt. A Brahmin's form, the fiend to cloak, fierce Ilval wore, and Sanskrit spoke, and twice-born sages would invite to solemnize some funeral rite. His brother's flesh, concealed within a ram's false shape and borrowed skin, as men are wont at funeral feasts, he dressed and fed those gathered priests. The holy men, unweeting ill, took of the food and ate their fill. Then Ilval with a mighty shout exclaimed, "Vadapi, issue out." Soon as his brother's voice he heard, the fiend with ram-like bleeding stirred, rending in pieces every frame, forth from the dying priests he came. So they who changed their forms at will thousands of Brahmins dared to kill. Fierce fiends, who loved each cruel deed, and joyed on bleeding flesh to feed. Agastya, mighty hermit, pressed to funeral banquet like the rest, obedient to the gods, appeal ate up the monster at a meal. "'Tis done, fierce Ilval cried, and water for his hands supplied. Then lifting up his voice he spake, "Forth, brother, from thy prison break." Then him who called the fiend, who long had wrought the suffering Brahmin's wrong, thus thoughtful-souled Agastya, best of hermits, with a smile addressed, "How, Rakshas, is the fiend empowered to issue forth whom I devoured? Thy brother in a ram's disguise is gone where Yama's kingdom lies." When from the words Agastya said he knew his brother fiend was dead, his soul on fire with vengeful rage, rushed the night trover at the sage. One lightning glance of fury, hot as fire, the glorious hermit shot, as the fiend neared him in his stride, and straight, consumed to dust, he died. In pity for the Brahmins' plight, Agastya wrought this deed of might, this grove which lakes and fair trees grace in his great brother's dwelling place. As Rama thus the tale rehearsed, and with Sumitra's son conversed, the setting sun his last rays shed, and evening o'er the land was spread. Awhile the princely brothers stayed, and even rites in order paid. Then to the holy grove they drew, and hailed the saint with honor due. With courtesy was Rama met by that illustrious anchoret, and for one night he rested there regaled with fruit and hermit fare. But when the night had reached its close, and the sun's glorious circle rose, the son of Raghu left his bed, and to the hermit's brother said, "Well rested in thy hermit cell, I stand, O saint, to bid farewell, for with thy leave I journey hence thy brother saint to reverence." "Go, Rama, go," the sage replied, then from the cot the chieftain hied. And while the pleasant grove he viewed, the path the hermit showed, pursued. Of every leaf, of changing hue. Plants, trees by hundreds round him grew, with joyous eyes he looked on all then Jack. 427, the wild rice, and Saul. 428, he saw the red hibiscus glow, he saw the flower-tipped creeper throw the glory of her clusters o'er tall trees that loads of blossom bore. Some elephants had prostrate laid, in some the monkeys leapt and played, and through the whole wide forest rang the charm of gay birds as they sang. Then Rama of the lotus eye to Lakshman, a letter 1E47 turned who followed nigh. And thus the hero youth impressed with fortune's favoring signs, addressed. "How soft the leaves of every tree, how tame each bird and beast we see. Soon the fair home shall we behold of that great hermit tranquil-souled. The deed the good Agastya wrought high fame throughout the world has bought. I see his calm retreat that balms the pain of weary feet. Where white clouds rise from flames beneath, where bark coats lie with many a wreath, where sylvan things, made gentle, throng, and every bird is loud in song. With ruth for suffering creatures filled, a death-like fiend with might he killed, and gave this southern realm to be a refuge, from oppression free. There stands his home, whose dreaded might has put the giant crew to flight, who view with envious eyes afar the peaceful shades they cannot mar. Since that most holy saint has made his dwelling in this lovely shade, checked by his might the giant brood have dwelt in peace with souls subdued. And all this southern realm, within whose bounds no fiend may entrance win, now bears a name which naught may dim, made glorious through the worlds by him. When Vindhya, best of hills, would stay the journey of the Lord of Day, obedient to the saint's behest, he bowed for aye his humbled crest. That hoary hermit, world-renowned for holy deeds, within this ground has set his pure and blessed home, where gentle sylvan creatures roam. Agastya, whom the worlds revere, pure saint to whom the good are dear, to us his guests all grace will show, enriched with blessings ere we go. I to this aim each thought will turn, the favor of the saint to earn, that here in comfort may be spent the last years of our banishment. Here sanctities and high saints stand, gods, minstrels of the heavenly band, upon Agastya's will they wait, and serve him, pure and temperate. The liar's tongue, the tyrant's mind within these bounds no home may find. No cheat, no sinner here can be, so holy and so good is he. Here birds and lords of serpent race, spirits and gods who haunt the place, content with scanty fare remain, as merits meed they strive to gain. Made perfect here, the saints supreme, on cars that mock the day gods gleam, their mortal bodies cast aside, sought heaven transformed and glorified. Here gods to living things, who win their favor, pure from cruel sin, give royal rule and many a good, immortal life and spirithood. Now, LKSHM, a letter 1E47, we are near the place, do thou proceed a little space, and tell the mighty saint that I with Sítá at my side am nigh. Canto 12. The heavenly bow. He spoke, the younger prince obeyed, within the bounds his way he made, and thus addressed, whom first he met, a pupil of the anchoret. Brave Rama, eldest born, who springs from Dasaratha, hither brings his wife the lady Sítá. He would fain the holy hermit see. LKSHM, a letter 1E47 am I, if happy fame ere to thine ears has brought the name. His younger brother, prompt to do his will, devoted, fond, and true. We, through our royal sire's decree, to the dread woods were forced to flee. Tell the great master, I entreat, our earnest wish our lord to greet. He spoke, the hermit rich in store of fervid zeal and sacred lore, sought the pure shrine which held the fire to bear his message to the sire. Soon as he reached the saint most bright in sanctity's surpassing might, he cried, uplifting reverent hands, Lord Rama near thy cottage stands. Then spoke Agastya's pupil dear the message for his lord to hear. Rama and LKSHM, a letter 1E47, chiefs who spring from Dasaratha, glorious king, thy hermitage e'en now have sought, and Lady Sítá with them brought. The tamers of the foe are here to see thee, master, and revere. Tease then thy further will to say, deign to command, and we obey. When from his pupil's lips he knew the presence of the princely too, and Sítá born to fortune high. The glorious hermit made reply, great joy at last is mine this day that Rama hither finds his way, for long my soul has yearned to see the prince who comes to visit me. Go forth, and hither bring the royal three with welcoming, lead Rama in and place him near. Why stands he not already here? Thus ordered by the hermit, who, lord of his thought, all duty knew, his reverent hands together laid. The pupil answered and obeyed. Forth from the place with speed he ran to LKSHM, a letter 1E47 came and thus began. Where is he? Let not Rama wait, but speed, the sage to venerate. Then with the pupil LKSHM, a letter 1E47 went across the hermit settlement, and showed him Rama where he stood with Janak's daughter in the wood. The pupil then his message spake, which the kind hermit bade him take, then led the honored Rama thence, and brought him in with reverence. As nigh the royal Rama came with LKSHM, a letter 1E47, and the Maithil dame, he viewed the herds of gentle deer, roaming the garden free from fear. As through the sacred grove he trod he viewed the seat of many a god, Brahma and Agni, 429 sun and moon, and his who sends each golden boon. 430, here VISH letter 1E47 US stood, their Bhagas, 431, shrine, and their Mahendras, Lord divine. Here his who formed this earthly frame, 432, his there from whom all beings came. 433 Vayus, 434, and his who loves to hold the great noose, VARU letter 1E47, 435, mighty souled. Here was the Vasus, 436, shrine to see, here that of sacred Gayatri, 437, the king of serpents, 438, here had place, and he who rules the feathered race. 439, here Kaikeyí, 440, warrior lord, and there was justice king adored. Then with disciples girt about the mighty saint himself came out, through fierce devotion bright as flame before the rest the master came, and then to LKSHM, a letter 1E47, fortune blessed, Rama these hasty words addressed. Behold, Agastya's self draws near, the mighty saint, whom all revere. With spirit raised I meet my lord with richest wealth of penance stored. The strong-armed hero spake, and ran forward to meet the sun-bright man. Before him, as he came, he bent and clasped his feet most reverent. then rearing up his stately height stood suppliant by the anchorite, while Lakshman, a letter 1E47's strength, and Sita's grace stood by the pride of Raghu's race. The sage his arms round Rama threw, and welcomed him with honors due, asked, was all well, with questions sweet, and bade the hero to a seat. With holy oil he fed the flame, he brought the gifts which strangers claim, and kindly waiting on the three with honors due to high degree, he gave with hospitable care a simple hermit's woodland fare. Then sat the reverend father, first of hermits, deep in duty versed, and thus to suppliant Rama, bred in all the lore of virtue, said, did the false hermit, prince, neglect to hail his guest with due respect, he must, the doom the perjured meet, his proper flesh hereafter eat. A car-born king, a lord who sways the earth and virtue's law obeys, worthy of highest honor, thou hast sought, dear guest, my cottage now. He spoke, with fruit and hermit fair, with every bloom the branches bear, Agastya graced his honored guest, and thus with gentle words addressed. Accept this mighty bow, divine, whereon red gold and diamonds shine. 'Twas by the heavenly artist planned for VISH letter 1E47 own almighty hand, this God-sent shaft of sun-bright hue, whose deadly flight is ever true, by Lord Mahendra given of yore, this quiver with its endless store. Keen arrows hurtling to their aim like kindled fires that flash and flame, except, in golden sheath encased, this sword with hilt of rich gold graced. Armed with this best of bows Lord VISH letter 1E47, you slew his demon foes, and mid the dwellers in the skies won brilliant glory for his prize. The bow, the quivers, shaft, and sword received from me, O glorious Lord, these conquest to thine arm shall bring, as thunder to the thunder's king. The splendid hermit bade him take the noble weapons as he spake, and as the prince accepted each in words like these, renewed his speech. Canto 13. Agastya's Counsel. O Rama, great delight I feel, pleased, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, with thy faithful zeal, that you within these shades I see with Sita come to honor me. But wandering through the rough rude wild, has wearied Janak's gentle child. With labors of the way, oppressed the Maithil lady longs for rest. Young, delicate, and soft and fair, such toils as these untrained to bear, her wifely love the dame has led the forest's troubled ways to tread. Here Rama, see that not annoy her easy hours of tranquil joy. A glorious task has she essayed, to follow thee through woodland shade. Since first from nature's hand she came, a woman's mood is still the same, when fortune smiles, her love to show, and leave her lord in want and woe. No pity than her heart can feel, she arms her soul with warrior's steel, swift as the storm or feathered king, uncertain as the lightning's wing. Not so thy spouse. Her purer mind shrinks from the faults of womankind, like chaste Arundhati, 441 above, a paragon of faithful love. Let these blessed shades, dear Rama, be a home for Lakshman, a letter 1E47, her, and thee. With raised hands reverently meek, he heard the holy hermit speak, and humbly thus addressed the sire whose glory shone like kindled fire. How blessed am I, what thanks I owe that our great master deigns to show his favor, that his heart can be content with Lakshman, a letter 1E47, Sita me. Show me, I pray, some spot of ground where thick trees wave and springs abound, that I may raise my hermit cell and there in tranquil pleasure dwell. Then thus replied Agastya, best of hermits, to the chief's request, when for a little he had bent his thoughts upon that prayer intent. Beloved son, 4 leagues away is Princh of V, a letter 1E60, cute, bright and gay, thronged with its deer. Most fair it looks with berries, fruit, and water brooks. There build thee with thy brother's aid a cottage in the quiet shade, and faithful to thy sire's behest, obedient to the sentence, rest. For well, O sinless chieftain, well I know thy tale, how all befell. Stern penance and the love I bore thy royal sire supply the lore. To me long rites and fervid zeal the wish that stirs thy heart reveal, and hence my guest I bade thee be, that this pure grove might shelter thee. So now, thereafter, thus I speak. The shades of Princh of V, a letter 1E60 I acute seek, that tranquil spot is bright and fair, and Sita will be happy there. Not far remote from here it lies, a grove to charm thy loving eyes, Godavari's pure stream is nigh. there Sita's days will sweetly fly. Pure, lovely, rich in many a charm, O hero of the mighty arm, teas gay with every plant and fruit, and throngs of gay buds never mute. Thou, true to virtue's path, hast might to screen each trusting anchorite, and wilt from thy new home defend the hermits who on thee depend. Now yonder, prince, direct thine eyes where dense madhuka, 442 woods arise, pierce their dark shade, and issuing forth turn to a fig tree on the north. Then onward up a sloping mead flanked by a hill the way will lead. There P-A-N-C-H a V a letter 1E60 I cute, ever gay with ceaseless bloom, thy steps will stay. The hermit ceased. The princely two with seemly honors bade adieu. With reverential awe each youth bowed to the saint whose word was truth. And then, dismissed with Sita, they to P-A-N-C-H a V a letter 1E60 I cute took their way. Thus when each royal prince had grasped his warrior's mighty bow, and clasped his quiver to his side, with watchful eyes along the road the glorious Saint Agastya showed. Dauntless in fight the brothers strode, and Sita with them hied. Canto 14. Jatius. Then as the son of Raghu made his way to P-A-N-C-H a V, a letter 1E60 I cute S shade, a mighty vulture he beheld of size and strength unparalleled. The princes, when the bird they saw approached with reverence and awe, and as his giant form they eyed, "Tell who thou art," in wonder cried. The bird, as though their hearts to gain, addressed them thus in gentlest strain. "In me, dear sons, the friend behold your royal father loved of old." He spoke, nor long did Rama wait his sire's dear friend to venerate. He bade the bird declare his name and the high race of which he came. When Raghu's son had spoken, he declared his name and pedigree, his words prolonging to disclose how all the things that be arose. List while I tell, O Raghu's son, the firstborn fathers, one by one, great lords of life, whence all in earth and all in heaven derive their birth. First Kardam heads the glorious race where Vikrat holds the second place, with Sesha, Sansray next in line, and Bahuputra's might divine. Then Sth a letter 1E47 and Marichi came, Atri, and Kradu's forceful frame. Pulastia followed, next to him Angira's, name shall ne'er be dim. Prashada's, Pula next, and then Daksha, Vivasvat praised of men. A R-I acute SH letter 1E60, a N-E-M-I next, and last Kasyap in glory unsurpassed. From Daksha, fame the tale has told, 80 bright daughters sprang of old. Of these fair-waisted nymphs the great lord Kasyap sought and wedded 8, Aditi, Didi, Kalakatamra, Danu and Anala, and Krodhavasa swift to ire, and Manu, 443, glorious as her sire. Then when the mighty Kasyap cried delighted to each tender bride, "Sons shalt thou bear, to rule the 3 great worlds, in might resembling me." Aditi, Didi, and Danu obeyed his will as consorts true, and Kalaka, but all the rest refused to hear their lord's behest. First Aditi conceived, and she mother of 30 gods and 3. The Vasas and Adityas bare, Rudras and Asvins, heavenly pair. Of Didi sprang the Daityas, fame delights to laud their ancient name. In days of yore, their empire dread o'er earth and woods, and ocean spread. Danu was mother of a child, O hero, Isvagrava styled, and Narek next, and Kalak came of Kalaka, celestial dame. Of Tamra, too, 5 daughters bright in deathless glory sprang to light. Ennobling fame still keeps alive the titles of the lovely 5, immortal honor still she claims for Kranchai, Basi, Siani's names. And wills not that the world forget Suki or Dhritarashtra yet. Then Kranchai bear the crane and owl, and Basi tribes of water fowl, vultures and hawks that race through air with stormfleet pinions Siani bear. All swans and geese on mere and brook their birth from Dhritarashtra took, and all the river-haunting brood of ducks, a countless multitude. From Suki Nala sprang, who bare Dame Vinata surpassing fair. From fiery Krodhavasa, 10 bright daughters sprang, O king of men, Emrigi and Emrigamanda named, Hari and Badramada famed, Sarjali, Sveta fair to see, Madangi bright, and Sarabhi, Surasa marked with each fair sign, and Kadruma all maids divine. Emrigi, O prince without a peer, was mother of the herds of deer, the bear, the yak, the mountain row their birth to Emrigamanda O, and Badramada joyed to be mother of fair Iravati, who bare Aravat. 444, huge of mold, mid-warders of the earth enrolled from Hari lordly lions trace, with monkeys of the wild their race. From the great dames Sarjuli styled sprung pards, langurs, 445, and tigers wild. Matangi, prince, gave birth to all Matangas, elephants strong and tall, and Sveta bore the beasts who stand one at each wind, earth's warder band. 446, next Sarabhi the goddess bore 2 heavenly maids, O prince of yore, Gandharvi, dear to fame is she, and her sweet sister Rohi letter 1E47 acute. With kine this daughter filled each mead, and bright Gandharvi bore the steed. 447, Surasa bore the serpents. 448, all the snakes Kadru their mother call. Then Manu, high-souled Cassiaps, 449, wife to all the race of men gave life. The Brahmins first, the Kshatriya caste, then Vaisyas and the Sudras last. Sprang from her mouth the Brahmin race, her chest the Kshatriyas' natal place, the Vaisyas from her thighs, Tees said, the Sudras from her feet were bred. From Anala all trees that hang their fair fruit-laden branches sprang. The child of beauteous Suki bore Vinata, as I taught before, and Surasa and Kadru were born of one dame, a noble pair. Kadru gave birth to countless snakes that roam the earth in woods and brakes. A RU letter 1E47 and G a RU letter 1E0D swift of flight by Vinata were given to light, and sons of a RU letter 1E47 read as morn Sampati first. Then I was born me then, O tamer of the foe, J a letter 1E60, Ayus, son of Siani, no. Thy ready helper will I be, and guard thy house, if thou agree, when thou and LAKSHM a letter 1E47 urge the chase by Sita's side shall be my place. With courteous thanks for promised aid, the prince, to rapture stirred, bent low, and due obeisance paid, embraced the royal bird. He often in the days gone by had heard his father tell how, linked with him in friendship's tie, he loved J a letter 1E60, Ayus well. He hastened to his trusted friend, his darling to confide, and through the wood his steps to bend by strong J a letter 1E60, Ayus side. On to the grove, with LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 near. The prince his way pursued to free those pleasant shades from fear and slay the giant brood. Canto 15. Panchavati. Arrived at PANCH a V, a letter 1E60, acute S shade where sylvan life and serpents strayed. Rama in words like these addressed LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 of vigor unrepressed. Brother, our home is here. Behold the grove of which the hermit told, the bowers of PANCH a V, a letter 1E60, I acute see made fair by every blooming tree. Now, brother, bend thine eyes around, with skillful glance survey the ground. Here be some spot selected, best approved for gentle hermits' rest, where thou, the Maithil dame, and I may dwell while seasons sweetly fly. Some pleasant spot be chosen where pure waters gleam and trees are fair, some nook where flowers and wood are found, and sacred grass and springs abound. Then LAKSHM, a letter 1E47, Sita standing by, raised reverent hands and made reply. 100 years shall flee, and still will I obey my brother's will, select thyself a pleasant spot, be mine the care to rear the cot. The glorious chieftain, pleased to hear that loving speech that soothed his ear, selected with observant care a spot with every charm most fair. He stood within that calm retreat, a shade for hermits, home most meet, and thus Sumitra's son addressed, while his dear hand in his he pressed. See this smooth and lovely glade which flowery trees encircling shade. Do thou, beloved LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 rear a pleasant cot to lodge us here. I see beyond that feathery break the gleaming of a lilied lake, where flowers in sunlike glory throw fresh odors from the wave below. Agastya's words now find we true. He told the charms which here we view. Here are the trees that blossom o'er Godavari's most lovely shore, whose pleasant flood from side to side, with swans and geese, is beautified, and fair banks crowded with the deer that steal from every covert near. The peacock's cry is loud and shrill from many a tall and lovely hill, green-belted by the trees that wave full blossoms o'er the rock and cave. Like elephants whose huge fronts glow with painted streaks, the mountains show long lines of gold and silver sheen with copper's darker hues between. With every tree each hill is graced, where creepers blossom interlaced. Look where the sal's long branches sway, and palms their fan-like leaves display. The date tree and the jack are near, and their long stems Tamala's rear. See the tall mango lift his head, Asokas all their glory spread, the kedak her sweet buds unfold, and champaks hang their cups of gold. 450. The spot is pure and pleasant. Here are multitudes of birds and deer. OLAKSHM, a letter 1E47. With our Father's friend, what happy hours we here shall spend. He spoke. The conquering LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 heard, obedient to his brother's word. Raised by his toil, a cottage stood to shelter Rama in the wood, of ample size, with leaves o'erlaid. Of hardened earth the walls were made. The strong bamboos his hands had felled for pillars fair the roof upheld, and rafter, beam, and lath supplied well interwrought from side to side. Then Sami, 451, boughs he deftly spread and laced with knotted cord o'erhead, well thatched above from ridge to eaves with holy grass, and reed and leaves. The mighty chief with careful toil had cleared the ground and smoothed the soil where now, his loving labor done, rose a fair home for Raghu's son. Then when his work was duly wrought, Godavara's sweet stream he sought, bathed, plucked the lilies, and a store of fruit and berries homeward bore. Then sacrifice he duly paid, and wooed the gods their hopes to aid, and then to Rama proudly showed the cot prepared for his abode. Then Raghu's son, with Sítá, gazed upon the home his hands had raised, and transport thrilled his bosom through his leafy hermitage to view. The glorious son of Raghu round his brother's neck his arms enwound, and thus began his sweet address of deep-felt joy and gentleness. Well pleased am I, dear Lord, to see this noble work performed by thee. For this sole grace I can bestow, about thy neck mine arms I throw. So wise art thou, thy breast is filled with grateful thoughts, in duty skilled. Our mighty Father, free from stain, in thee, his offspring, lives again. Thus spoke the prince, who lent a grace to fortune, pride of Raghu's race. Then in that spot whose pleasant shade gave store of fruit, content he stayed. With LAKSHM, a letter 1E47, and his Maithil spouse, he spent his days 'neath sheltering boughs, as happy as a god on high lives in his mansion in the sky. Canto 16. Winter. While there the high-souled hero spent his tranquil hours in sweet content, the glowing autumn passed, and then came winter so beloved of men. One morn to bathe, at break of day to the fair stream he took his way. Behind him, with the Maithil dame bearing a pitcher LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 came, and as he went the mighty man thus to his brother chief began. The time is come, to thee more dear than all the months that mark the year, the gracious seasons, joy and pride, by which the rest are glorified. A robe of hoary rime is spread o'er earth, with corn engarlanded. The streams we loved no longer please, but near the fire we take our ease. Now pious men to God and shade offer young corn's fresh sprouted blade, and purge away their sins with rice bestowed in humble sacrifice. Rich stores of milk delight the swain, and hearts are cheered that longed for gain, proud kings whose breasts for conquests glow lead bannered troops to smite the foe. Dark is the north. The lord of day to Yama's south, 452, has turned away, and she sad widow shines no more, reft of the bridal mark, 453, she wore. Himalaya's hill, ordained of old the treasure house of frost and cold, scarce conscious of the feebler glow, is truly now the lord of snow. Warmed by the noontide's genial rays delightful are the glorious days, but how we shudder at the chill of evening shadows and the rill. How weak the sun, how cold the breeze. How white the rime on grass and trees. The leaves are sere, the woods have lost their blossoms killed by nipping frost. 'Neath open skies we sleep no more, December's nights with rime are hoar, their triple watch, 454, in length, extends with hours the shortened daylight lens. No more the moon's sun-borrowed rays are bright, involved in misty haze, as when upon the mirror's sheen the breath's obscuring cloud is seen. E'en at the full the faint beams fail to struggle through the darksome veil. Changed like her hue, they want the grace that parts not yet from Sítá's face. Cold is the western wind, but how its piercing chill is heightened now, blowing at early morning twice as furious with its breath of ice. See how the dewy tears they weep the barley, wheat, and woodland steep, where, as the sun goes up the sky, the curlew and the saras cry. See where the rice plants scarce uphold their full ears, tinged with paly gold, bending their ripe heads slowly down fair, as the date tree's flowery crown. Though now the sun has mounted high seeking the forehead of the sky, such mist obscures his struggling beams, no bigger than the moon he seems. Though weak at first, his rays at length grow pleasant in their noonday strength, and where awhile they chance to fall fling a faint splendor over all. See, o'er the woods where grass is wet with hoary drops that cling there yet, with soft light clothing earth, and bough there steals a tender glory now. Yon elephant who longs to drink, still standing on the river's brink, plucks back his trunk in shivering haste from the cold wave he fain would taste. The very fowl that haunt the mere stand doubtful on the bank, and fear to dip them in the wintry wave as cowards dread to meet the brave. The frost of night, the rime of dawn bind flowerless trees and glades of lawn. Benumbed in apathetic chill of icy chains they slumber still. You hear the hidden saras cry from floods that wrapped in vapor lie, and frosty shining sands reveal where the unnoticed rivers steal. The hoary rime of dewy night, and suns that glow with tempered light lend fresh cool flavors to the rill that sparkles from the topmost hill. The cold has killed the lily's pride, leaf, filament, and flower have died. With chilling breath rude winds have blown, the withered stalk is left alone. At this gay time, O noblest chief, the faithful Bharat, worn by grief, lives in the royal town where he spends weary hours for love of thee. From titles, honor, kingly sway, from every joy he turns away. Couched on cold earth, his days are passed with scanty fare and hermit's fast. This moment from his humble bed he lifts, perhaps, his weary head, and girt by many a follower goes to bathe where silver Sarju flows. How, when the frosty morn is dim, shall Sarju be a bath for him nursed with all love and tender care, so delicate and young and fair? How bright his hue! His brilliant eye with the broad lotus leaf may vie. By fortune stamped for happy fate, his graceful form is tall and straight. In duty skilled, his words are truth, he proudly rules each lust of youth. Though his strong arm smites down the foe in gentle speech, his accents flow. Yet every joy has he resigned, and cleaves to thee with heart and mind. Thus by the deeds that he has done a name in heaven has Bharat won, for in his life he follows yet thy steps, O banished anchoret. Thus faithful Bharat, nobly wise, the proverb of the world belies. No men, by mother's guidance led, the footsteps of their fathers tread. How could Kaikeyí, blessed to be spouse of the king our sire, and see a son like virtuous Bharat, blot her glory with so foul a plot? Thus in fraternal love he spoke, and from his lips reproaches broke. But Rama grieved to hear him chide the absent mother, and replied, Cease, O beloved, cease to blame our royal father's second dame. Still speak of Bharat first, in place of old Ikshvaku's princely race. My heart, so firmly bent but now to dwell in woods and keep my vow, half melting as I hear thee speak of Bharat's love, grows soft and weak. With tender joy I bring to mind his speeches ever sweet and kind. That dear as Amrit took the sense, with most enchanting influence. Ah, when shall I, no more to part, meet Bharat of the mighty heart? When, O my brother, when shall we the good and brave Satrugna see? Thus as he poured his fond lament, the son of Raghu onward went, they reached the river, and the three bathed them in fair Godavari. Libations of the stream they paid to every deity and shade, with hymns of praise, the sun on high and sinless gods to glorify. Fresh from the purifying tide, resplendent Rama came, with LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 ever by his side, and the sweet Maithil dame. So Rudra shines by worlds adored, in glory undefiled, when Nandi, 455, stands beside his lord, and King Himalaya's child. 456. Canto 17. Sirpanika. The bathing and the prayer were o'er. He turned him from the grassy shore, and with his brother and his spouse, sought his fair home beneath the boughs. Sítá and LAKSHM, a letter 1E47 by his side. On to his cot the hero hied, and after rites at morning dew within the leafy shade withdrew. Then, honored by the devotees, as royal Rama sat at ease with Sítá near him, o'er his head a canopy of green boughs spread. He shone as shines the Lord of Night by treacherous, 457 side, his dear delight. With Lakshman, a letter 1E47, there he sat and told sweet stories of the days of old. And as the pleasant time he spent with heart upon each tale intent, a giantess, by fancy led, came wandering to his leafy shed. Fierce execute RP, a letter 1E47 a Kaikeyí, her of yore the 10-necked tyrant's mother bore. Saw Rama with his noble mien bright as the gods in heaven are seen, him from whose brow a glory gleamed, like lotus leaves his full eyes beamed, long-armed of elephantine gait, with hair close coiled in hermit plate, in youthful vigor, nobly framed, by glorious marks a king proclaimed, like some bright lotus lustrous-hued, with young Kandarpas, 458, grace endued. As there like Indra's self he shone, she loved the youth she gazed upon. She grim of eye and foul of face loved his sweet glance and forehead's grace, she of unlovely figure, him of stately form and shapely limb, she whose dim locks disordered hung, him whose bright hair on high brows clung, she whose fierce accents counseled fear, him whose soft tones were sweet to hear, she whose dire form with age was dried, him radiant in his youthful pride, she whose false lips maintained the wrong, him in the words of virtue strong, she cruel-hearted, stained with sin, him just in deed and pure within. She hideous fiend, a thing to hate, him formed each eye to captivate, fierce passion in her bosom woke, and thus to Raghu's son she spoke. With matted hair above thy brows, with bow and shaft, and this thy spouse, how hast thou sought in hermit dress the giant-haunted wilderness? What dost thou here? The cause explain, why art thou come and what to gain? As execute RP, a letter 1E47 a Kaikeyí questioned so, Rama, the terror of the foe, in answer to the monster's call, with fearless candor told her all. King Dasaratha reigned of old, like God celestial brave and bold. I am his eldest son and heir, and Rama is the name I bear. This brother, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, younger born, most faithful love to me has sworn. My wife, this princess, dear to fame, is Sítá the Vidhan dame. Obedient to my sire's behest, and by the queen my mother pressed, to keep the law and merit win, I sought this wood to harbor in. But speak, for I of thee in turn thy name, and race, and sire would learn. Thou art of giant race, I ween, changing at will thy form and mien. Speak truly, and the cause declare that bids thee to these shades repair. Thus Rama spoke, the demon heard, and thus replied by passion spurred. Of giant race, what form soe'er my fancy wills, 'tis mine to wear. Named execute RP, a letter 1E47 a Kaikeyí, here I stray, and where I walk spread wild dismay. King Rav, a letter 1E47 is my brother. Fame has taught perchance his dreaded name, strong Kumbh a K, a R letter 1E47, a slumbering deep in chains of never-ending sleep. Vibh SH, a letter 1E47 of the duteous mind, in needs unlike his giant kind D, SH, a letter 1E47 and Kara, brave and bold, whose fame by every tongue is told, their might by mine is far surpassed. But when, O best of men, I cast these fond eyes on thy form, I see my chosen love and lord in thee. Endowed with wondrous might am I, where'er my fancy leads I fly. The poor misshapen Sítá leave, and me, thy worthier bride, receive. Look on my beauty, and prefer a spouse more meet than one like her. I'll eat that ill-formed woman there, thy brother to her fate shall share. But come, beloved, thou shalt roam with me through all our woodland home, each varied grove with me shalt seek, and gaze upon each mountain peak. As thus she spoke, the monster gazed with sparkling eyes where passion blazed. Then he, in lore of language learned, this answer eloquent returned. Canto 18. The mutilation. On her ensnared in commas, net his eyes the royal Rama set, and thus, her passion to beguile, addressed her with a gentle smile. I have a wife. Behold her here, my Sítá ever true and dear, and one like thee will never brook upon a rival spouse to look. But there my brother Lakshman, a letter 1E47 stands, unchained is he by nuptial bands, a youth heroic, loved of all, gracious and gallant, fair and tall. With winning looks most nobly bred, unmatched till now, he longs to wed. Meet to enjoy thy youthful charms, O take him to thy loving arms. Enamored on his bosom lie, fair damsel of the radiant eye, as the warm sunlight loves to rest upon her darling Meru's breast. The hero spoke, the monster heard, while passion still her bosom stirred. Away from Rama's side she broke, and thus in turn to Lakshman, a letter 1E47 spoke. Come, for thy bride take me who shine in fairest grace that suits with thine. Thou by my side from grove to grove of D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS wild in bliss shalt rove. Then Lakshman, a letter 1E47, skilled in soft address, wooed by the amorous giantess, with art to turn her love aside, to execute you acute RP a letter 1E47, a KH thus replied. And can so high a dame agree the slave wife of a slave to be? I lotus-hued, in good and ill, am bondsman to my brother's will. Be thou, fair creature radiant-eyed, my honored brother's younger bride, with faultless tint and dainty limb, a happy wife, bring joy to him. He from his spouse grown old and gray, deformed, untrue, will turn away, her withered charms will gladly leave, and to his fair young darling cleave. For who could be so fond and blind, O loveliest of all female kind, to love another dame and slight thy beauty's rich in all delight? Thus Lakshman, a letter 1E47 praised and scornful, just the long-toothed fiend with loathly breast, who fondly heard his speech, nor knew his mocking words were aught but true. Again inflamed with love she fled to Rama, in his leafy shed, where Sítá rested by his side, and to the mighty victor cried, What, Rama, canst thou blindly cling to this old false misshapen thing? Wilt thou refuse the charms of youth for withered breast and grinning tooth? Canst thou this wretched creature prize, and look on me with scornful eyes? This aged crone this very hour before thy face will I devour, then joyous, from all rivals free. Through D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K will I stray with thee. She spoke, and with a glance of flame, rushed on the fawn-eyed Mathil dame. So would a horrid meteor mar fair ROH, I letter 1E47 I acute S soft beaming star. But as the furious fiend drew near, like death's dire noose which chills with fear, the mighty chief her purpose stayed, and spoke, his brother to upbraid. Ne'er should we jest with creatures rude, of savage race and wrathful mood. Think, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, think how nearly slain my dear Vidhan breathes again. Let not the hideous wretch escape, without a mark to mar her shape. Strike, lord of men, the monstrous fiend deformed and foul and evil-meaned. He spoke, then Lakshman, a letter 1E47 S wrath rose high, and there before his brother's eye he drew that sword which none could stay, and cleft her nose and ears away. Noseless and earless, torn and maimed, with fearful shrieks the fiend exclaimed, and frantic in her wild distress, resought the distant wilderness. Deformed, terrific, huge, and dread, as on she moved, her gashes bled, and groan succeeded groan as loud as roars, air rain, the thunder cloud. Still on the fearful monster passed, while streams of blood kept falling fast, and with a roar and arms outspread within the boundless wood she fled. To Janisthan the monster flew, fierce Kara there she found, with chieftains of the giant crew in thousands ranged around. Before his awful feet, she bent and fell with piercing cries, as when a bolt in swift descent comes flashing from the skies. There for a while with senses dazed silent she lay and scared. At length her drooping head she raised, and all the tale declared. How Rama, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, and the dame had reached that lonely place, then told her injuries and shame, and showed her bleeding face. Canto 19. The rousing of Kara. When Kara saw his sister lie with blood-stained limbs and troubled eye, wild fury in his bosom woke, and thus the monstrous giant spoke. Arise, my sister, cast away this numbing terror and dismay, and straight the impious hand declare that marred those features once so fair. For who his finger-tip will lay on the black snake in childish play, and unattacked, with idle stroke his poison-laden fang provoke? Ill-fated fool, he little knows death, noose around his neck he throws, who rashly met thee, and a draught of life-destroying poison quaffed. Strong, fierce as death, 'twas thine to choose thy way at will, each shape to use, in power and might like one of us. What hand has maimed and marred thee thus? What god or fiend this deed has wrought? What bard or sage of lofty thought was armed with power supremely great thy form to mar and mutilate? In all the worlds not one I see would dare a deed to anger me, not Indra's self, the thousand-eyed, beneath whose hand fierce Paka, 459 died. My life-destroying darts this day his guilty breath shall rend away. And, as the thirsty wild swan drains each milk drop that the wave retains, whose blood in foaming streams shall burst o'er the dry ground which lies athirst, when by my shafts transfixed and slain he falls upon the battle plain, from whose dead corpse shall birds of air the mangled flesh and sinews tear, and in their gory feast delight, when I have slain him in the fight. Not god or bard or wandering ghost, no giant of our mighty host shall step between us, or avail to save the wretch when I assail. Collect each scattered sense, recall thy troubled thoughts, and tell me all. What wretch attacked thee in the way, and quelled thee in victorious fray? His breast with burning fury fired, thus Kara of the fiend inquired. And then with many a tear and sigh thus as acute RP a letter 1E47 a KH made reply. T's Dasaratha's sons, a pair strong, resolute and young and fair, in coats of dark and black deer's hide, and like the radiant lotus-eyed, on berries, roots, and fruit they feed, and lives of saintly virtue lead, with ordered senses undefiled, Rama and L a KSHM a letter 1E47 are they styled. Fair as the minstrels, King 460 are they, and stamped with signs of regal sway. I know not if the heroes trace their line from gods or Danav, 461 race. There by these wondering eyes between the noble youths a dame was seen, fair, blooming, young with dainty waist, and all her bright apparel graced. For her with ready heart and mind the royal pair their strength combined, and brought me to this last distress, like some lost woman, comfortless. Perfidious wretch! My soul is fain her foaming blood, and theirs to drain. Oh, let me head the vengeful fight, and with this hand my murderers smite. Come, brother, hasten to fulfill this longing of my eager will. On to the battle. Let me drink their lifeblood as to earth they sink. Then Kara, by his sister pressed, inflamed with fury, gave his hest to twice 7 giants of his crew, fierce as the god of death to view. 2 men equipped with arms, who wear deerskin and bark and matted hair, leading a beauteous dame, have strayed to the wild gloom of D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS shade. These men this cursed woman slay, and hasten back without delay, that this my sister's lips may be red with the lifeblood of the 3 giants. My wounded sister longs to take this vengeance for her wrongs. With speed her dearest wish fulfill, and with your might these creatures kill. Soon as your matchless strength shall lay these brothers dead in battle fray, she in triumphant joy will laugh, and their hearts blood delighted quaff. The giants heard the words he said, and forth with acute RP a letter 1E47 a KH sped, as mighty clouds in autumn fly urged by the wind along the sky. Canto 20. The giant's death. Fierce acute RP a letter 1E47 a KH with her train to Rama's dwelling came again, and to the eager giants showed where Sítá and the youths abode. Within the leafy cot they spied the hero by his consort's side, and faithful L a KSHM a letter 1E47 ready still to wait upon his brother's will. Then noble Rama raised his eye and saw the giant standing nigh, and then, as nearer still they pressed, his glorious brother thus addressed, Be thine a while, my brother dear, to watch o'er Sítá's safety here, and I will slay these creatures who the footsteps of my spouse pursue. He spoke, and Reverend L a KSHM a letter 1E47 heard submissive to his brother's word. The son of Raghu, virtuous-souled, strung his great bow adorned with gold, and with the weapon in his hand, addressed him to the giant band. Rama and L a KSHM a letter 1E47 we, who spring from Dasaratha, mighty king, we dwell a while with Sítá here in D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K forest wild and drear. On woodland roots and fruit we feed, and lives of strictest rule we laid. Say why would ye our lives oppress who sojourn in the wilderness? Sent hither by the hermits, prayer with bow and darts unused to spare, for vengeance am I come to slay your sinful band in battle fray. Rest as ye are, remain content, nor try the battle's dire event. Unless your offered lives ye spurn, O rovers of the night, return." They listened while the hero spoke, and fury in each breast awoke. The Brahmin slayers raised on high their mighty spears and made reply. They spoke with eyes aglow with ire, while Rama's burnt with vengeful tire, and answered thus, in fury wild, that peerless chief whose tones were mild. "Nay, thou hast angered, overbold, Kara our lord, the mighty souled, and for thy sin, in battle strife, shalt yield to us thy forfeit life. No power hast thou alone to stand against the numbers of our band. 'Twere vain to match thy single might against us in the front of fight. When we equipped for fight advance with brandished pike and mace and lance, thou, vanquished in the desperate field, thy bow, thy strength, thy life shalt yield." With bitter words and threatening mien, thus furious, spoke the fierce 14, and raising scimitar and spear on Rama, rushed in wild career. Their leveled spears the giant crew against the matchless hero threw. His bow the son of Raghu bent, and twice 7 shafts to meet them sent, and every javelin sundered fell by the bright darts he aimed so well. The hero saw, his anger grew to fury. From his side he drew fresh sunbright arrows pointed keen in number, like his foes, 14. His bow he grasped, the string he drew, and gazing on the giant crew, as Indra casts the levin, so shot forth his arrows at the foe. The hurtling arrows, stained with gore through the fiends, breasts a passage tore, and in the earth lay buried deep as serpents through an ant-hill creep like trees uptorn by stormy blast. The shattered fiends to earth were cast, and there with mangled bodies they, bathed in their blood and breathless, lay. With fainting heart and furious eye the demon saw her champions die. With drying wounds that scarcely bled back to her brother's home, she fled. Oppressed with pain, with loud lament at Kara's feet the monster bent. There like a plant whence slowly come the trickling drops of oozy gum. With her grim features pale with pain, she poured her tears in ceaseless rain. There rooted execute uacute RP, a letter 1E47 a KH and told her brother all, the issue of the bloody fray, her giant champions fall. Canto 21. The rousing of Kara. Low in the dust he saw her lie, and Kara's wrath grew fierce and high. Aloud he cried to her who came disgracefully with baffled aim, "I sent with thee at thy request the bravest of my giants, best of all who feed upon the slain, why art thou weeping here again? Still to their master's interest true, my faithful, noble, loyal crew, though slaughtered in the bloody fray, would yet their monarch's word obey. Now I, my sister, fain would know the cause of this thy fear and woe, why like a snake thou writhest there, calling for aid in wild despair. Nay, lie not thus in lowly guise, cast off thy weakness and arise." With soothing words, the giant chief assuaged the fury of her grief. Her weeping eyes she slowly dried, and to her brother thus replied, "I sought thee in my shame and fear with severed nose and mangled ear. My gashes like a river bled, I sought thee and was comforted. Those twice 7 giants, brave and strong, thou sentest to avenge the wrong, to lay the savage Rama low. And LAKSHM a letter 1E47 who misused me so. But the shafts of Rama through the bodies of my champions flew, though madly fierce their spears they plied, beneath his conquering might they died. I saw them, famed for strength and speed, I saw my heroes fall and bleed. Great trembling seized my every limb at the great deed achieved by him. In trouble, horror, doubt, and dread, again to thee for help I fled. While terror haunts my troubled sight, I seek thee, rover of the night. And canst thou not thy sister free from this wide waste of troublous sea, whose sharks are doubt and terror, where each wreathing wave is dark despair? Low lie on earth thy giant train by ruthless Rama's arrows slain, and all the mighty demons, fed on blood, who followed me are dead. Now if within thy breast may be pity for them and love for me, if thou, O rover of the night, have valor and with him can fight, subdue the giants, cruel foe who dwells where D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a KS thickets grow. But if thine arm in vain essay this queller of his foes to slay, now surely here before thine eyes, wronged and ashamed thy sister dies. Too well, alas, too well I see that, strong in war as thou mayst be, thou canst not in the battle stand when Rama meets thee hand to hand. Go forth, thou hero, but in name, assuming might thou canst not claim, call friend and kin, no longer stay, away from Janisthan, away. Shame of thy race. The weak alone beneath thine arm may sink o'erthrown. Fly Rama and his brother. They are men too strong for thee to slay. How canst thou hope, O weak and base, to make this grove thy dwelling place? With Rama's might unmeet to vie, o'ermastered thou wilt quickly die. A hero strong and valorous deed is Rama, Dasaratha's seed, and scarce of weaker might than he his brother chief who mangled me. Thus wept and wailed in deep distress the grim misshapen giantess. Before her brother's feet she lay o'erwhelmed with grief, and swooned away. Canto 22. Kara's wrath. Roused by the taunting words she spoke, the mighty Kara's wrath awoke, and there, while giants girt him round, in these fierce words an utterance found. I cannot, peerless one, contain mine anger at this high disdain, galling as salt when sprinkled o'er the rawness of a bleeding sore. Rama in little count I hold, weak man whose days are quickly told. The caitiff with his life, today, for all his evil deeds shall pay. Dry, sister, dry each needless tear. Stint thy lament and banish fear, for Rama and his brother go this day to Yama's realm below. My warrior's axe shall stretch him slain, ere set of sun, upon the plain, then shall thy sated lips be red with his warm blood in torrents shed. As Kara's speech the demon heard, with sudden joy her heart was stirred, she fondly praised him as the boast and glory of the giant host. First moved to ire by taunts and stings, now soothed by gentle flatterings, to du acute sh a letter 1e47, who his armies led, the demon Kara spoke and said, Friend, from the host of giants call full 14,000, best of all, slaves of my will, of fearful might, who never turn their backs in fight, fiends who rejoice to slay and mar, dark as the clouds of autumn are, make ready quickly, O my friend, my chariot and the bows I bend. My swords, my shafts of brilliant sheen, my divers lances long and keen. On to the battle will I lead these heroes of Pulistia's seed, and thus, O famed for warlike skill, Rama my wicked foeman kill. He spoke, and ere his speech was done, his chariot glittering like the sun, yoked and announced, by Dushan's care, with dappled steeds was ready there. High as a peak from Meru rent it burned with golden ornament, the pole of lazulite, of gold were the bright wheels whereon it rolled. With gold and moonstone blazoned o'er, fish, flowers, trees, rocks, the panels bore auspicious birds embossed thereon, and stars in costly emblem shone. O'er flashing swords his banner hung, and sweet bells, ever tinkling, swung. That mighty host with sword and shield and oar was ready for the field, and Kara saw, and Dushan cried, Forth to the fight, ye giants, ride. Then banners waved, and shield and sword flashed as the host obeyed its lord. From Janisthan they sallied out with eager speed, and din and shout armed with the mace for close attacks, the bill, the spear, the battle-axe, steel quoit and club that flashed afar, huge bow and sword and scimitar, the dart to pierce, the bolt to strike, the murderous bludgeon, lance, and pike. So forth from Janisthan, intent on Kara's will, the monsters went. He saw their awful march. Not far behind the host he drove his car. Where of his master's will, to speed the driver urged each gold-decked steed. Then forth the warriors' coursers sprang, and with tumultuous murmur rang each distant quarter of the sky and realms that intermediate lie. High and more high within his breast his pride triumphant rose, while terrible as death he pressed onward to slay his foes, more swiftly yet. As on they fled, he cried in thundering tones, loud as a cloud that overhead hails down a flood of stones. Canto 23. The Omens. Canto 23. The Omens. Then Rama, peerless in the skill that marks each sign of good and ill, strained his dear brother to his breast, and thus with prudent words addressed. Now, LAKSHM a letter 1e47, by the water's side in fruitful groves the host divide, that warriors of each woodland race may keep their own appointed place. Dire is the danger, loss of friends of vanners and of bears impends. Disdained with dust the breezes blow, and earth is shaken from below. The tall hills rock from foot to crown, and stately trees come toppling down. In threatening shape, with voice of fear, the clouds like cannibals appear, and rain in fitful torrents, red with sanguinary drops, is shed. Long streaks of lurid light invest the evening skies from east to west. And from the sun at times, a ball of angry fire is seen to fall. From every glen and brake is heard the boding voice of beast and bird. From den and lair night prowlers run and shriek against the falling sun. Up springs the moon, but hot and red kills the sad night with woe and dread, no gentle luster, but the gloom that heralds universal doom. A cloud of dust and vapor mars the beauty of the evening stars, and wild and fearful is the sky as though the wreck of worlds were nigh. Around our heads in boding flight wheel hawk and vulture, crow and kite, and every bird of happy note shrieks terror from his altered throat. Sword, spear, and shaft shall strew the plain dyed red with torrents of the slain. Today the vanner troops shall close around the city of our foes. While Kara, urged by valiant rage, drew near that little hermitage, those wondrous signs in earth and sky smote on each prince's watchful eye. When Rama saw those signs of woe fraught with destruction to the foe, with bold impatience scarce, repressed his brother chief he thus addressed. These fearful signs, my brother bold, which threaten all our foes, behold, all laden as they strike the view, with ruin to the fiendish crew. The angry clouds are gathering fast, their skirts with dusty gloom orchest, and harsh with loud-voiced thunder, rain thick drops of blood upon the plain. See, burning for the coming fight, my shafts with wreaths of smoke are white, and my great bow embossed with gold throbs eager for the master's hold. Each bird that through the forest flies sends out its melancholy cries. All signs foretell the dangerous strife, the jeopardy of limb and life. Each sight, each sound gives warning clear that foemen meet and death is near. But courage, valiant brother! Well the throbbings of mine arm foretell that ruin waits the hostile powers, and triumph in the fight is ours. I hail the welcome omen, thou art bright of face and clear of brow. For Lakshman, a letter 1E47, when the eye can trace a cloud upon the warrior's face, stealing the cheerful light away, his life is doomed in battle fray. List, brother, to that awful cry, with shout and roar the fiends draw nigh. With thundering beat of many a drum, the savage-hearted giants come. The wise who value safety know to meet, prepared, the coming blow, in paths of prudence trained aright they watch the stroke before it smite. Take thou thine arrows and thy bow, and with the Maithil lady go for shelter to the mountain cave, where thickest trees their branches wave. I will not have thee, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, say one word in answer but obey. By all thy honor for these feet of mine, dear brother, I entreat. Thy warlike arm, I know could, smite to death these rovers of the night, but I this day would fight alone till all the fiends be overthrown. He spake. And Lakshman, a letter 1E47, answered not, his arrows and his bow he brought, and then with Sítá following hied for shelter to the mountain side. As Lakshman, a letter 1E47, and the lady through the forest to the cave withdrew, "'Tis well," cried Rama. Then he braced his coat of mail around his waist. When, bright as blazing fire, upon his mighty limbs that armor shone, the hero stood like some great light uprising in the dark of night. His dreadful shafts were by his side, his trusty bow he bent and plied, prepared he stood. The bowstring rang, filling the welkin with the clang. The high-souled gods together drew the wonder of the fight to view, the saints made free from spot and stain, and bright Gandharva's heavenly train. Each glorious sage the assembly sought, each saint divine of loftiest thought, and filled with zeal for Rama's sake. Thus they whose deeds were holy spake. Now be it well with Brahmins, now well with the worlds and every cow. Let Rama in the deadly fray the fiends who walk in darkness slay, as he who bears the discus, 464, slew the chieftains of the Asur crew. Then each with anxious glances viewed his fellow and his speech renewed. There twice 7,000 giants stand with impious heart and cruel hand. Here Rama stands, by virtue known, how can the hero fight alone? Thus royal sage and Brahmin saint, spirit, and virtue free from taint, and all the gods of heaven who rode on golden cars, their longing showed. Their hearts with doubt and terror rent, they saw the giants' armament, and Rama clothed in warrior might, forth standing in the front of fight. Lord of the arm no toil might tire, he stood majestic in his ire, matchless in form as Rudra, 465, when his wrath is fierce on gods or men. While gods and saints in close array held converse of the coming fray, the army of the fiends drew near with sight and sound that counseled fear. Long, loud, and deep their war-cry pealed, as on they rushed with flag and shield, each, of his proper valor proud, urging to fight the demon crowd. His ponderous bow each warrior tried, and swelled his bulk with martial pride. Mid shout and roar and trampling feet, and thunder of the drums they beat, loud, and more loud the tumult went throughout the forest's vast extent, and all the life that moved within the woodland trembled at the din. In eager haste all fled to find some tranquil spot, nor looked behind. With every arm of war supplied, on-rushing wildly like the tide of some deep sea, the giant host approached where Rama kept his post. Then he, in battle skilled and tried, bent his keen eye on every side, and viewed the host of Kara face to face before his dwelling place. He drew his arrows forth, and reared and strained that bow which foemen feared, and yielded to the vengeful sway of fierce desire that host to slay. Terrific as the ruinous fire that ends the worlds, he glowed in ire, and his tremendous form dismayed the gods who roam the forest shade. For in the furious wrath that glowed within his soul the hero showed like Siva when his angry might stayed Daksha's sacrificial rite. 466, like some great cloud at dawn of day when first the sun upsprings, and o'er the gloomy mass each ray a golden radiance flings, thus showed the children of the night, whose mail and chariots threw, with gleam of bows and armlets bright, flashes of flamy hue. Canto 25. The battle. When Kara with the hosts he led drew near to Rama's leafy shed, he saw that queller of the foe stand ready with his ordered bow. He saw, and burning at the view his clanging bow he raised and drew, and bade his driver urge apace his car to meet him face to face. Obedient to his master's hest, his eager steeds, the driver pressed on to the spot where, none to aid, the strong-armed chief his weapon swayed. Soon as the children of the night saw Kara rushing to the fight, his lords with loud unearthly cry followed their chief and gathered nigh. As in his car the leader rode with all his lords around, he showed like the red planet fiery Mars surrounded by the lesser stars. Then with a horrid yell that rent the air, the giant chieftain sent 1,000 darts in rapid shower on Rama matchless in his power. The rovers of the night, impelled by fiery rage which not withheld upon the unconquered prince who strained his fearful bow, their arrows rained. With sword and club, with mace and pike, with spear and axe to pierce and strike, those furious fiends on every side the unconquerable hero plied. The giant legions huge and strong, like clouds the tempest drives along, rushed upon Rama with the speed of whirling car and mounted steed, and hill-like elephant, to slay the matchless prince in battle fray. Then upon Rama thick and fast the rain of mortal steel they cast, as laboring clouds their torrents shed upon the mountain monarchs, 467 head. As near and nearer, round him drew the warriors of the giant crew. He showed like Siva girt by all his spirits when night's shadows fall. As the great deep receives each rill and river rushing from the hill he bore that flood of darts, and broke with well-aimed shaft each murderous stroke. By stress of arrowy storm assailed, and wounded sore, he never failed, like some high mountain which defies the red bolts flashing from the skies. With ruddy streams each limb was dyed from gaping wounds in breast and side, showing the hero like the sun, mid crimson clouds ere day is done. Then, at that sight of terror, faint grew god, Gandharva, sage, and saint, trembling to see the prince oppose his single might to myriad foes. But waxing wroth, with force unspent, he strained his bow to utmost bent, and forth his arrows keen and true in hundreds, yea, in thousands flew. Shafts none could ward and none endure, death's fatal noose was scarce so sure. As twere in playful ease he shot his gilded shafts, and rested not. With swiftest flight and truest aim upon the giant hosts they came. Each smote, each stayed a foeman's breath as fatal as the coil of death. Each arrow through a giant tore a passage, and besmeared with gore, pursued its onward way and through the air with flamy brilliance flew. Unnumbered were the arrows sent from the great bow which Rama bent, and every shaft with iron had the lifeblood of a giant shed. Their pennoned bows were cleft, nor mail nor shield of hide could aught avail. For Rama's myriad arrows tore through arms and bracelets which they wore, and severed mighty warriors, thighs like trunks of elephants in size, and cut resistless passage sheer through gold-decked horse and charioteer, slew elephant and rider. slew the horseman and the charger too, and infantry unnumbered sent to dwell 'neath Yama's government. Then rose on high a fearful yell of rovers of the night, who fell beneath that iron torrent, sore wounded by shafts that rent and tore. So mangled by the ceaseless storm of shafts of every kind and form, such joy they found, as forests feel when scorched by flame, from Rama's steel. The mightiest still the fight maintained, and furious upon Rama rained dart, arrow, spear, with wild attacks of mace, and club and battle-axe. But the great chief, unconquered yet, their weapons with his arrows met, which severed many a giant's head, and all the plain with corpses spread. With sundered bow and shattered shield headless they sank upon the field, as the tall trees, that felt the blast of GRU10Ds wing, to earth were cast. The giants left unslaughtered there were filled with terror and despair, and to their leader Kara fled faint, wounded, and discomfited. These fiery du acute sh a letter 1e47 strove to cheer, and poised his bow to calm their fear, then fierce as he who rules the dead, when wroth, on angered Rama sped. By du acute sh a letter 1e47 cheered, the demons cast their dread aside and rallied fast with sawls, rocks, palm trees in their hands with nooses, maces, pikes, and brands. Again upon the godlike man the mighty fiends infuriate ran, these casting rocks like hail, and these a whelming shower of leafy trees. Wild, wondrous fight, the eye to scare, and raise on end each shuddering hair, as with the fiends who love to rove by night heroic Rama strove. The giants in their fury plied Rama with darts on every side. Then, by the gathering demons pressed from north and south and east and west, by showers of deadly darts assailed from every quarter fiercely hailed, girt by the foes who swarmed around, he raised a mighty shout whose sound struck terror. On the giant crew his great Gandharva, 468, arrow flew. 1,000 mortal shafts were rained from the orbed bow the hero strained, till east and west and south and north were filled with arrows volleyed forth. They heard the fearful shout. They saw his mighty hand the bowstring draw, yet could no wounded giants I see the swift storm of arrows fly. Still firm the warrior stood, and cast his deadly missiles thick and fast. Dark grew the air with arrowy hail, which hid the sun as with a veil. Fiends wounded, fallen, slain all in a moment, spread the plain, and thousands scarce alive were left mangled, and gashed and torn and cleft. Dire was the sight, the plain o'erspread with trophies of the mangled dead. There lay, by Rama's missiles rent, full many a priceless ornament, with severed limb and broken gem, hauberk and helm and diadem. There lay the shattered car, the steed, the elephant of noblest breed, the splintered spear, the shivered mace, treacherous and screens to shade the face. The giant saw with bitterest pain their warriors weltering on the plain, nor dared again his might oppose who scourged the cities of his foes. Canto 26. Dushan's death. When du acute sh a letter 1e47 saw his giant band slaughtered by Rama's conquering hand, he called 5,000 fiends and gave his orders. Bravest of the brave invincible, of furious might, ne'er had they turned their backs in flight. They, as their leader bade them seize spears, swords and clubs and rocks and trees, poured on the dauntless prince again a ceaseless shower of deadly rain. The virtuous Rama, undismayed, their missiles with his arrows stayed, and weakened, ere it fell, the shock of that dire hail of tree and rock, and like a bull with eyelids closed, the pelting of the storm opposed. Then blazed his ire, he longed to smite to earth the rovers of the night. The wrath that o'er his spirit came clothed him with splendor as of flame, while showers of mortal darts he poured fierce on the giants and their lord. Du acute sh a letter 1e47, the foeman's dusky dread, by frenzied rage inspirited, on Raghu's son his missiles cast like Indra's bolts which rend and blast. But Rama with a trenchant dart cleft du acute sh a letter 1e47's ponderous bow apart. And then the gold-decked steeds who drew the chariot, with 4 shafts he slew. One crescent dart he aimed which shred clean from his neck the driver's head, 3 more with deadly skill addressed stood quivering in the giant's breast. Hurled from his car, steeds, driver slain, the bow he trusted cleft in twain, he seized his mace, strong, heavy, dread, high as a mountain's towering head. With plates of gold adorned and bound, embattled gods it crushed and ground. Its iron spikes yet bore the stains of mangled foemen's blood and brains. Its heavy mass of jagged steel was like a thunderbolt to feel. It shattered as on foes it fell, the city where the senses dwell. 469, fierce du acute, sh, a letter 1e47 seized that ponderous mace like monstrous form of serpent race, and all his savage soul aglow with fury, rushed upon the foe. But Raghu's son took steady aim, and as the rushing giant came, shore with 2 shafts the arms whereon the demon's glittering bracelets shone. His arm at each huge shoulder lopped, the mighty body reeled and dropped, and the great mace to earth was thrown like Indra's staff when storms have blown. As some vast elephant who lies shorn of his tusks, and bleeding dies, so, when his arms were rent away, low on the ground the giant lay. The spirits saw the monster die, and loudly rang their joyful cry, "Honor to Rama! Nobly done! Well hast thou fought, Kakutsa's son?" But the great 3, the host who led, enraged to see their chieftain dead, as though death's toils were round them cast, rushed upon Rama fierce and fast. Mahikapala seized, to strike his foeman down, a ponderous pike. Esthyalaksha charged with spear to fling, Pramathi with his axe to swing. When Rama saw, with keen darts he received the onset of the 3, as calm as though he hailed a guest in each, who came for shade and rest. Mahikapala's monstrous head fell, with the trenchant dart he sped. His good right hand in battle skilled Esthyalaksha's, eyes with arrows filled, and trusting still his ready bow he laid the fierce Pramathi low, who sank as some tall tree falls down with bough and branch and leafy crown. Then with 5,000 shafts he slew the rest of du acute, sh, a letter 1e47's giant crew. 5,000 demons, torn and rent, to Yama's gloomy realm he sent. When Kara knew the fate of all the giant band and du acute, sh, a letter 1e47's fall, he called the mighty chiefs who led his army, and in fury said, "Now du acute, sh, a letter 1e47, and his armed train lie prostrate on the battle plain. Lead forth an army mightier still, Rama this wretched man to kill. Fight ye with darts of every shape, nor let him from your wrath escape." Thus spoke the fiend, by rage impelled, and straight his course toward Rama held. With Siyanagami and the rest of his 12 chiefs he onward pressed, and every giant as he went a storm of well-wrought arrows sent. Then with his pointed shafts that came with gold and diamond, bright as flame, dead to the earth the hero threw the remnant of the demon crew. Those shafts with feathers bright as gold, like flames which wreaths of smoke enfold, smote down the fiends like tall trees rent by red bolts from the firmament. 100 shafts he pointed well, by their keen barbs 100 fell, 1,000, and 1,000 more in battle's front lay drenched in gore. Of all defense and guard bereft, with sundered bows and harness cleft. Their bodies red with bloody stain fell the night trovers on the plain, which, covered with the loosened hair of bleeding giants prostrate there, like some great altar showed, arrayed for holy rites with grass o'erlaid. The darksome wood, each glade and dell where the wild demons fought and fell, was like an awful hell, whose floor is thick with mire and flesh and gore. Thus twice 7,000 fiends, a band with impious heart and bloody hand, by Raghu's son were overthrown, a man, on foot, and all alone. Of all who met on that fierce day, Kara, great chief, survived the fray, the monster of the triple head, 470, and Raghu's son, the foeman's dread. The other demon warriors, all skillful and brave and strong and tall, in front of battle, side by side, struck down by Lakshman, a letter 1e47's brother died. When Kara saw the host he led triumphant forth to fight stretched on the earth, all smitten dead, by Rama's nobler might, upon his foe he fiercely glared, and drove against him fast, like Indra when his arm is bared his thundering bolt to cast.